Warrington look like they've won the toss. First battle to them. Leeds then will kick off. This is the Warrington side. Lee Penny at full-back. Forster, Eager, Rudd and Roach the three-quarter line. Toa Koilove, the Kiwi, is the standoff, and Lee Breers returns after 3 games out injured. Up front, it's Mark Hilton, Farah the skipper, Danny Nutley, Brendan Tudor and Steve McCurry in the second row, and Michael Wainwright is the Warrington loose forward. And on the bench, Ian Knott, Chris Morley, Warren Stevens and Vince Fawcett, who began his career at Leeds. Coach is Darrell van de Velde. Now the Rhinos, who, as I say, need to win to get back on tracks with Wigan at the top. Harris, the captain. Paul Sterling, Richard Blackmore, Brad Dotton, Francis Cummins, Tony Kemp and Graham Holroyd. Leeds unchanged in the backs and unchanged in the forwards from last week's win over Halifax. Martin Masella, Ryan Sheridan, Darren Fleary, Andy Hay, Anthony Farrell and Darryl Powell. And on the bench, Barry McDermott, Marvin Golden, Jamie Matthew and Marcus St. Hilaire. Coach Graham Murray simply said, same again this week. This is the Warrington dressing room, beaten 56 points to 8 by Wigan last Sunday and in need of a win to keep their year on track. It's been a roller coaster of a season for them. Leeds, well, they bounced back from that defeat at Hull to beat Halifax 35-18. Now they are 4 points clear of the Blue Sox going into this weekend, though the Blue Sox, of course, winning last night has closed the gap. Will it be 2 or 4 points between second and third at the end of this? Well, Leeds, they have been in magnificent form this year. Just the one blemish, that defeat at Hull a fortnight ago. Attack and defence bettered only by one club. That's the team they are vying for the leadership with, the Wigan Warriors. And I wonder whether Iestyn Harris will return to haunt Warrington here. Harris leads the team out. A pretty hostile reception from the Warrington fans. He was once their big hero, of course. Left here in somewhat acrimonious circumstances just 12 months ago, but has really set Super League alight this year with his performances from full-back for the Leeds Rhinos. Warrington then, as I say, a roller coaster of a season, but they were poor in the second half at Central Park. Darrell van de Velde was less than impressed. But they have remained unbeaten in their last 4 home games. A dreadful away record, though, could cost them dear. Just 1 win on their travels. Modest is the only word to use to describe their try return. Their problem's defence, where they've been leaking an average of 4 tries a game, and only Huddersfield have a worse record than theirs. Out comes the mascots, and behind them Danny Farah, the new captain at Warrington, who had a magnificent game when last we were at Wilderspool in that match against the champions, the Bradford Bulls, and the Wolf looks pretty impressed as well. Hope springs eternal on the terraces, and as far as the coach is concerned, Darrell van de Velde. Unbeaten in their last 4 here, though. They beat Halifax, Castleford and the Bulls. They drew 18-all with the cup holders Sheffield. Just the 1 defeat, that was on the opening weekend against the Salford Reds. But Darrell van de Velde knows that they have a pretty poor recent record against the Leeds Rhinos in Super League. Russell Smith is this evening's match referee, handing Graham Holroyd the football, and Graham Murray, who was our guest, of course, just last night at the Halifax game, in his more usual role here tonight as the coach of the Leeds Rhinos. Many in Leeds believe that they will be at Old Trafford on October the 24th, watching their side win the Super League crown. It would be their first title since 1972, when they beat St Helens in the championship final at Swinton. And a new signing on the right of your screen, David Howes, sitting alongside Super League chief Maurice Lindsay in the stand. David Howes, the new man, of course, who is the managing director of the Leeds Rhinos PLC. Formerly they worked together at the Rugby Football League, of course, those two. Now very much in the Super League camp, and this game underway. And Mark Hilton takes the first tackle from Andy Hay and Darren Fleary. Here now is Mark Forster. 400th game for Warrington, when last we saw him here, and he marked that with 2 fabulous tries against Bradford. And talking to Paul Cullen over the weekend, the assistant coach at Warrington, he believes that the Wolves are very much up for this game and they fancy turning Leeds over. McCurry with that run takes the Wolves to the halfway line, an interference by Darren Fleary. So the first penalty of the match goes Warrington's way.
Good run there by the big second rower, Steve McCurry. He went right over the top of the attempted tackle by Andy Hay. And the prop forward, Darren Fleary, giving away rather a silly penalty early in the match. But that would have surprised the Leeds defence. It's been one of their key issues throughout this season. And Andy Hay, it's very rare anyone gets over the top of that. And Kemp was high.
He was, that's another penalty.
Well, it was a hospital pass, I must say. And Hilton would have felt that. Well, did he swing the arm? Breers was the short pass. I think Breers really wanted the big prop forward Hilton to go through as a dummy, and he released it just at the last moment.
Russell Smith telling Tony Kemp to keep the tackles below the neck. Second penalty to Warrington, so they have the opportunity to kick for goal, and it's going to be Chris Rudd. Breers out with an injury, Roper also out, and they fear that he might be out for the rest of the season here at Wilderspool. And so they've actually now got Breers back in the side. Rudd took the kicking responsibilities with Breers absent, and it looks like he's done enough for the time being anyway to keep the job. Maybe Lee Breers still feeling the effects of that injury, which has kept him out for the past 3 games.
Probably also to take the responsibility away from him, just so that he can concentrate on the half-back play. It certainly is a bonus to have Lee Breers back for the Wolves.
Hasn't kicked for a while, but he actually got the 100th goal of his career against Sheffield here in their last home game. This then, Chris Rudd's first opportunity for first points for Warrington. And he drifts it successfully over the top of the posts, and Warrington lead by 2 points to 0. Supporters with something to cheer about early.
Well, they certainly needed a good start. They would have noticed against Hull that Hull really mixed it with the Leeds forwards, and that's what the likes of Hilton and Nutley, the 2 prop forwards, have to do in the Warrington pack. And they got after that flying 2-0 start. So that's some encouragement to them, but a little bit shaky start from Leeds. 2 silly penalties given away and a missed tackle.
Oh, and then the mistake off the knees of Andy Hay. I was about to say Leeds will have the first use of the football here after 3 minutes, and Andy Hay makes the mistake. That will be a dropout from underneath the Leeds posts, and Warrington will have yet more possession. But a particularly dodgy start from the Leeds Rhinos this.
Especially from that man too. He was the man that couldn't get down on the tackle on Steve McCurry. A bad mistake there, even more pressure on.
So it's Hilton who will drive the ball in the first tackle this set of 6. Danny Farrer again, the dummy half. Lee Penny now for Warrington. Hay and Fleary getting to him, and they haul the full-back down. Now Michael Wainwright. He helps it further wide, and Nutley couldn't wheel it in, so Francis Cummings now gets hold of the football for Leeds for the first time. 4 minutes gone.
Well, you could see there that there was 2 men coming in for him straight away, and yet another hospital pass. Well, you will notice that the Leeds defence, they're going pretty high. Those 2 tacklers there, they came over the shoulder. That's better defence though.
Blackmore was I thought interfered with by Michael Egar, but the referee has got him for the knock-on as the rain starts to fall here in Warrington.
Well, they definitely lost it, and Blackmore claiming to the official that the boot of Michael Egar got in the way. It did, but surely Blackmore should have picked a better spot to play that football.
Worrying moments then for Graham Murray, the Leeds coach, as Warrington have the ball back. And it's been all Warrington in the opening 5 minutes. This is Wainwright again. Nutley this time manages to take the pass. Hay and Goddendoe get to him with the tackle. Chris Rudd is the dummy half. Spins it then into the arms of Brendan Tutor. And Tutor gets to within 10 metres of the Leeds try line. Farrer again dummy half.
This is where the link is needed, but they're still keeping it within the forwards.
That's
this
Jason
is the winger
Roach.
Well, they need to stand a little bit deeper, Warrington. They're very, very flat, and you can see the Leeds defence moving up quickly. You've got to give yourself room to move.
Now maybe they'll give it some width. This is Breers. He will hoist the kick in towards the in-goal area, but it just caught the breeze, was too deep, and floats over the dead ball line.
A little bit rusty, being away from the hotbed of Super League for quite some time with that injury, and not the best executed kick from the little halfback Lee Breers is an important factor, of course, for Warrington, and their coach Daniel van der Veld was hoping that he can add a little bit of buzz that's been missing.
Marcella with a good strong run, but equally met with a good strong tackle from Farah and Hilton. Sheridan the dummy half, Darren Fleary the hitman of Super League, and Brendan Tutor caught for a swinging arm. He didn't make contact.
Went over the top and well spotted by the official Russell Smith, who will demand none of that from any of these players, and rightly so. Real firebrand, of course, the Kiwi. Brendan Tutor will not take a backward step, so there could be quite a few fiery encounters out there.
Sheridan restarts, finds Kemp, who gets it to Marcella, who gets away from Farah. McCurry was in there quickly, so too was Danny Nutley. This now is Andy Hay on a diagonal run. Wainwright got to him downstairs, Tutor legally upstairs. Hay trying to get the penalty from Russell Smith, none forthcoming. It's with Holroyd again. And Holroyd all wrapped up by Danny Farah. 24-0 to Bradford Bulls at half-time at Odsal. Referee's whistle goes again because the touch judge is on the field. He's seen something.
Holroyd and Breers, and there was a little bit of an altercation. Breers thought that he was punched by Holroyd. There you see Breers going down and lashed out more with the fingers rather than the fists from Graham Holroyd. Not too happy about the tackle. I think there's a bit of a facial from young Breers, so this will be a penalty to Leeds.
Yes, penalty to Leeds and Iestyn Harris. Lee Breers can't believe that the penalty's been given against him. Young Player of the Year in 1997. He left St Helens and came to Warrington. Back after 3 games out injured. In the Welsh squad, by the way, to face England. Or emerging England at Widnes next month.
Well, I wish some of these players had just got on with playing rugby league football at its best rather than messing around. We mentioned it earlier in the season, Eddie, that this has kept creeping into our game. And any viewer that was watching the State of Origin from Australia,
or indeed our highlights from the National Rugby League in Australia,
they get on with the business. They don't mess around. This little niggling effect at the play of the ball is on the increase.
Referees can only penalise it to stamp it out. Harris with the opportunity to level the scores then. And first shot at goal for Iestyn Harris, not terribly convincing. Missed it by a mile. And he knows every blade of grass on this Wilderspool surface, of course. Iestyn Harris, this is where he began. Stays at 2-0 though to his former club, Warrington.
Well, I'm sure that the lead skipper realised he would not get a very warm welcome here.
Gets the opportunity now to run the ball back on this, the first tackle. He's been in magnificent form this year though, Iestyn Harris.
I must say that the fullback and the lead skipper probably the star performer in the first half of this Super League 3.
Darryl Powell keeping his place in the side despite the fact that Mark Glanville, of course, is very much part and parcel of the Leeds scene these days.
Good work there by Martin Marcella, who's getting over the advantage line quite easily, and that's because he's running full pelt onto the football.
Anthony Farrell was the man taking that ball in. He was cleared to play in this match, sending off sufficient for his dismissal last week. High kick, though, is well claimed by Lee Penny.
Took it well there. And Farrell right in front of his face. Plenty of courage shown there by the fullback Lee Penny. He's having a fine season himself.
He is, he's playing very well.
So's this fella as well.
Yes, we saw one of the vintage members of the Super League fraternity last night, Carl Harrison playing so well for Halifax. Mark Forster is another 30-something who is still going strong. Here now is Tutor. He loses the ball and Leeds have it back. It's play on. Oh no, the referee has had a little glance at his touch judge, who has given Warrington the penalty because it was stolen from Tutor.
I think it was Fleary that just whipped it out. Yep, you can see the left arm pulling it away. Look of anguish on the face of the big Kiwi. He said he didn't do anything wrong, but they all do that. Irrespective, it's more pressure now for Leeds.
Farrow restarts and he gives it to Mark Hilton. Mark Hilton only just back in the Super League scene this season, of course, after dreadful injury problems. Another man who's in the England squad, the emerging England squad, much to his delight. Knock on against Farrow.
Well, he's usually so strong and confident there, not the best play of the ball. You can see how it just bobbles at the last moment. Bad mistake by Danny Farrell, who's been leading by example throughout for the Wolves. Well, they've weathered the storm as Leeds, because they haven't had much possession.
Ball comes out of the scrum now. Godden has it. This is Cummins. Fancies Cummins in a rich vein of form. 6 tries in his last 5 matches.
Big hit there by Mark Hilton.
Fleary felt that.
Did he ever? Fleary struggling to get up off the ground. Big collision. And you can see that Warrington now are moving off the mark very quickly. Referee Russell Smith having a bit of a problem getting them back to required 10.
Good defence from Warrington, but equally a very good kick from Tony Kemp that in the end stands up for Lee Penny. Chasers arrive, Sterling and Blackmore. Good chase from the kick downtown. Here now is Jason Roach, whose season began like a house on fire in the Challenge Cup with 4 tries at Wakefield Trinity. But then he went off the boil in Super League and has only just reclaimed his place. Darryl van der Velde, Warrington coach, will be well pleased, I think, with the start his team have made in the opening 13 minutes. A kick into space and an invitation for Forster to chase. Harris is quick though. Harris gets it, but behind his own try line, and he does brilliantly. Then flicks a risky pass to Paul Sterling. Sterling just about got away with it.
Well, Forster was there, and they're fortunate that they required the penalty to relieve that pressure. But what on earth was Justin Harris doing here? He did so well. Nice jink away from Forster, and they could see that he was going towards a whitewash. Michael Eager had hold of him, but it was a suicidal pass. He got away with it though.
He did. Forster was laying on in the tackle. Referee penalised him. Forster had a little word, a chip at the referee, who marched him back 10 metres. Leeds then are on the halfway line in possession with Powell, but that's good tackling from Coe Love. But Powell does well and releases the pass to Harris, who comes across this way and finds Cummins, who steps inside the challenge of 3, but Coe Love again gets back to him and pulls him down. Godden the dummy half this time. Here's Harris now.
Great balance there we saw from Francis Cummings, the winner.
Sheridan. Good ball round the corner, was hacked forward, but Penny was alert to that.
Well, quick thinking there. Sheridan got it back on the inside. You could see it come off a Warrington body. And I must say, Darryl Powell did exceptionally well.
McCurry with the break, he gives it to Roach, and there's ground ahead of Roach. Roach with the race between him and Farrell, and Cummins, and Farrell gets to him and just pulls him down short of the line. But that was a great break from McCurry, continued by Roach, and Warrington on the roll here with Wainwright. Briers takes over, flicks the pass then to Tutor. Out wide it goes to Penny, but he comes back where all the heavy traffic is, and now the referee penalises Leeds for offside. Allowed the move to develop, see if there was an advantage for Warrington. There wasn't, so the penalty was given, and that should be another one, because Harris wasn't back 10 metres then. This is Farah trying to pinch one from dummy half, hauled back into the field of play. Breers to Wainwright. Holroyd and Blackmore get to him and bring him down. Wainwright wants to get up to his feet. Holroyd holding him down. It's with Tutor now. Tutor to McCurry. Quick hands from McCurry. Brilliantly picked up by Rudd. Out wide it goes to Roach, but forward.
Well, a great opportunity missed there on both occasions by the same man, Roach. You could see that Cummins had taken a huge gamble. He went for the intercept, it didn't come off, and Roach, it was a beautiful break though by Steve McCurry. Now you'd back this man to be the second rower, but look at Anthony Farrell, that was superb cover play. It must have been 6-4 on for Jason Roach to have got there and have the legs on a second rower. He's a big boy, Anthony Farrell, but he showed amazing speed then.
Well, I just wonder whether Warrington should have taken the penalty in front of the post and the shot at goal. Now it's Toa Koilova who's been picked up for a high tackle on Kemp, who went down like he was poleaxed, it must be said.
Tola, let's get him down. Tony, I'll get him. You've got your penalty.
Well, swinging arm over the top. Nothing malicious in it. Kemp was stepping back on the inside and Koilov was going through.
And he got what he wanted, the penalty. Here's Sheridan. Hey, makes a mess of it. He'd overrun the pass anyway. Well, suddenly, I was going to say suddenly, actually for 17 minutes, Leeds have looked strangely out of sorts.
And especially this guy, Andy Hay, you can see quite clearly he wanted to have a look at the oncoming traffic. Didn't fancy going down that cul-de-sac, lost the ball completely. Well, a big problem for Warrington is that they've had all the possession, they're making the breaks, but I'm afraid the final pass is not getting them the points that they deserve.
Farrow the dummy half, and here's Hilton again.
Swinging on. Well, he's got to do something about this.
Another high tackle.
You can't get under the chin with it, so we've got to get them lower. I ain't getting caught, Tony, I know a bit more than that.
Farrell. To be fair to Farrell, he made first contact on the ball carrying arm, but ricocheted right into the chin of the ball carrier.
Well, Anthony Farrell, of course, who was dismissed last week against Halifax when he moved in to try and stop the near riot that had broken out, but he ran from a long way away to get involved in the action. That's why he was shown the red card, but the disciplinary committee decided sending off sufficient. That's why he's able to play here this evening on his 45th consecutive appearance.
And you couldn't blame the official last week for doing that, because when they do come in from outside a ruck that's erupted, you can incite a riot, and that's the reason why that rule has been brought into place. All it needs is one to run in, and before you know it, there's about 20 at it.
Chris Rudd then with his second penalty kick at goal, similar range, and bang in front. And Chris Rudd is too experienced to miss those. Warrington ahead now by 4 points to 0.
Well, Daryl van der Velde will be happy to be in the lead, but I'm sure that he wishes his would have been a little bit extended. They've had the opportunity. 2 attempts by Roach. The second chance was a forward pass, and when, of course, McCurry made that good break, Roach really should have had the legs to wing it against the second rower, but it didn't turn out that way.
Referee trying to get the tackling players off the tackled man as quickly as possible to speed this game up, and we all say hear to that for Russell Smith. Now here's Sterling.
That's more like it from Leeds, but that's good defence, and he's also lost the football, and the Warrington Wolves are up for this one, aren't they?
Michael Eager leading from the front, the Australian.
First chance that they've utilised the link, 2 half-backs. Holroyd Kemp getting it out wide, and then Blackmore offloading. But great cover defence on that occasion.
So yet more pressure here for Warrington, and it's with Lee Penny.
Back off quickly, Leeds, one. Get up quicker, Tony.
Ego was the dummy half. You can hear the referee telling the players to get off quicker. That's going to be a penalty though against Leeds for 2-on-1 in the tackle. The ball stolen.
Well, a wasted effort there. It was good, well read by the centre, Brad Godden. As you could see, he came in, took the man, ball and all, and there was nothing that Rudd could do about that. And then you can see that they took the ball away when Kemp joined the foray.
Warrington then back in possession. That's Danny Nutley. Farah, the dummy half, 20 metres away from the Leeds try line. Hilton with another good strong run, but this time he loses the football. Well, 21 minutes gone, and I don't know whether any side yet has completed a set of 6.
Well, it's very wet out there. You can see the rain piling down, but a good impact tackle by Fleary. One thing you notice about this Leeds defence, every time they do a tackle, notice how they try to turn the Warrington player onto his back. That gives an extra seconds for them to get back and make sure that their defence is strong.
Only 5 sets of 6 tackles completed by these two. That's not a terribly good average in the opening 21.5 minutes. And also we've had 9 penalties in the game as well. It's been pretty scrappy, and you feel as though the game is about to get into life at some stage, but Fleary then loses out again, and Warrington have it back once more. Handling errors galore for the coaches to ponder during the half-time interval, which is still 18 minutes away.
Good work by the fullback there, Lee Penny. There you see the errors, 5-4, so not much between the two, but when Penny comes onto the charge like that, it's like playing with an extra forward. Such a solid lad.
Coe Love. Warrington debut as a blood bin substitute against Leeds in the first Super League season. There is Lee Penny chiming into the line. Farah again, off the ground and into the arms of McCurry. McCurry spins, but Kemp and Masella get to him.
Well, it's wet on the ground, so this is where they've got to utilise the grubber kick. Anything can happen.
And Breers maybe trying to set himself up for the little kick through. Flicks the ball back in the end. It was Nutley with the kick over the top, and that was not terribly good.
Well, he was under a lot of pressure. Obviously not a man used to being the kicker in the side. Very rare you find a prop forward that's got that capability.
And Breers had run down a cul-de-sac 3 times, hadn't he, as he tried to get his kick in.
Well, again, he would have been better served to stand back, give himself a little bit more room. As I say, it's very, very wet out there and slippy, as you can see.
Powell loses the ball again. Well, Leeds, at the moment, just can't hang on to the football. This is Penny.
Well, if Leeds thought that they were just going to arrive at Wilderspool for a bit of a Sunday stroll, oh, dear me.
Wainwright drops it now.
No one near it.
Oh, the referee said that went backwards, play on, and Graham Murray, I think his reaction says it all. Couldn't believe that.
Neither could I. That was a deliberate knock on. The ball was going forward. Okay, the momentum of the body went past the football.
Big hit by Fleary on Hilton there. It's warming up this. Here's McCurry, he will stab it through, but straight into the arms of Sterling. And Sterling thought he was away, but he was collared there by Mark Foster.
Pretty cool play there by, that's going to be a penalty. You've got to move away from the play of the ball there. It's no good. Mark Forster appealing to the touch judge and the referee. The rule states that when you've made the tackle, you've got to roll away, not lie around like a mushroom. Never made any attempts.
Fleary now for Leeds. Turns as the tackle was made by Nutley. Thought about releasing the pass. Thought better of it. Harris now. Every time he gets the ball, I suppose you could have predicted that. He would be booed by the Warrington crowd. Here's Holroyd, and he finds Hay, but that's great defence from Coe Love.
Picked him out.
And Hay didn't look like he enjoyed that particular tackle.
Well, it was a fair one, I don't know why.
Holroyd drifts the kick over the top. He was looking for Sterling, all he found was Forster.
We took him into a big hit there, swung him right round into Masella, who got the shoulder to the winger, and I don't think that Mark Forster's all that well. He's walking back to the touchline very slowly indeed.
Tutor for Warrington, tackled by Graham Holroyd. Farah, dummy half, into the arms of McCurry, having a growing influence, Steve McCurry, on Warrington's season.
Causing Leeds defence a lot of problems as well. They're finding him difficult to put down.
Wainwright almost through the gap there, but it was closed down quickly by Farrell and Kemp. Nutley, dummy half, gives it to Farah, and a collision between Masella and Farah.
They're trying to get the shoulder to him, but a bit of a slip there.
Looked worse than it was. And the kick, not terribly clever from Danny Nutley again.
Well, this is the incident. Came across the chest. That's the ball carrying arm as well. Well, that's a second kick from Nutley that has been unsuccessful. I'm sure that Daryl van der Velde, the coach, will get the message out. Stick to cards in the ball up, son. You're not a kicker.
Here's Andy Hay. Defence is very much on top at the moment. Just the two kicks that Warrington lead by off the boot of Chris Rudd. Jamie Matthew comes on as a blood bin replacement, and here he is. First touch for Matthew.
Big hit there by Mark Hilton on Darren Cleary. They're having their own big battle out there.
Well, they are rivals, of course, for the emerging England squad. Oh, Roach and Lee Penny almost getting in each other's way. Roach claiming the football in the end.
Well, obviously there was no call then. Darren Cleary is walking around in cuckoo land at the moment. That big hit from Mark Hilton certainly made its mark.
Wainwright flicks the pass away, and Farah had to be brave then as Blackmore came in, and Farah looks at Wainwright, and if looks could kill, Nutley now again for Warrington.
Well, both sides, the defence is moving up so quickly that having no room to move, and when that occurs then you've got to try to give yourself the space, and you can only do that by holding down again. Well, Kemp went over the top. This is becoming quite farcical. You can see Kemp's holding him down so that the defence can get back. There's McCurry. Sheridan did well to hang on to him, and you can see that Kemp's just holding the man down. Get him off to the bin. Come on, Mr. Smith. You've said enough so far. Bit of action now, that's what's needed.
Hilton loses the football. That wasn't dragged out, so Masella can launch, and then he drops it. There's more concern with standing toe-to-toe then.
Well, I tell you what, I think they might start putting two hoops at either side, never mind goalposts.
Somebody must have said something there, because the referee pointed at a Leeds player and then pointed to his own mouth, so there was something said that was not to referee
Jamie,
Russell Smith's liking.
We just need conversation, not instructions. I don't mind the comment, but not...
Well, obviously, Jamie Matthew was telling the referee what the decision should have been.
And there was a stray arm in there. It could have been accidental. Well, in these wet conditions, it's not going to be easy to keep the ball alive. And, of course, Leeds have been noted for some wonderful three-quarter play already this year.
We haven't seen much of them thus far in this match, though. 29 minutes gone, and Rudd again with the opportunity for his third successful kick. Kicked some great goals in his time as this fellow. And gets another 2 points for Warrington here. That's 3 from 3 for Rudd, and 6 points to Warrington Wolves. Well, they've got disastrous away form, these supporters know that. Just one win at Hull, and last Sunday they conceded 36 points without reply in the second half at Wigan. But Warrington are a different kettle of fish on their own ground. Bradford will testify to the truth of that statement. Tutor and Nutley really getting stuck in there on Andy Hay.
Well, I think it's time now for Leeds to realise that they can't tough it out and be the strong characters. They've got to try to be a little bit more adventurous, and that means that bringing in Graham Holroyd a little bit more into the fray, using a bit of step, and some runs from dummy half from this fella Sheridan. That will certainly give them something to think about in their defensive quality, especially the first and second markers.
Holroyd's clip over the top stands up for Lee Penny. Fleary gets to him though before too much progress is made.
Well, at least they turned him around, but the chase was good. And with it being slippy out there, mistakes, we've already seen so many in this match. That's what they're playing for. And the safety first game, kick and chase, hope that Warrington come up with that mistake. But another big hit from Fleary.
That's a battle royal developing between Hilton and Fleary, isn't it? Here's McCurry. No doubt those two, as I said earlier, trying to impress Andy Goodway, the England coach. They both want to be involved in the international against the Welsh. Breers, by the way, is named in the Welsh party, and that's a decent kick downfield.
Fine kick under pressure. A nice step. Avoided the first would-be tackle, and stepped to the left and got in a fine kick in the end. It amazes me, though, that when the pitch and the grass is quite wet, we had a bit of a downpour just 5 minutes into this game, that they don't utilise a little grubber kick. It skids around and bobbles all over the place.
And Murray, the Leeds coach, knows his side are in a bit of a battle here. Nine straight wins, of course, for Leeds. Then that defeat at Hull, but they bounced back last Friday against Halifax. But not a terribly impressive record here at Wilderspool, it must be said. Only 9 wins and a draw from 25 previous visits to Wilderspool in the league over the past 25 years. But now then they will launch something here with Hay, who finds a gap, and Hay goes for the line. He's just held short by Penny. Good tackle from Lee Penny. Sterling looping pass to Kemp. He dropped it, but it went backwards. Matthew on to Holroyd. Powell was the dummy runner. Godden out wide is Cummins. Cummins cuts inside Roach and scores easily. First try of the match to Francis Cummins and Leeds, and their first real concerted attack. But Cummins with a fine try out wide. Powell was the dummy runner. The pass was fed out, and Cummins went through Jason Roach like he wasn't there.
Super play, and it all came about by a good run by Matthew, and then Hay, the switch ball back on the inside, saw the big second rower through. Nice long pass out wide, not taken by Kemp. And it was Matthew yet again, and notice how Holroyd just sent it out. Godden did well then, and Cummins, who's in fine form, did a beautiful little twinkly run in the first 10 minutes. This is about the second opportunity he's had, and look at the balance there. He knew exactly when to step inside Jason Roach. That's a fine effort.
Yes, he's in fine form, as Steve-O says. 7 tries in the last 6 matches now for Leeds, and almost 150 appearances for this club, and this young man is still just 21 years of age. So Iestyn Harris with his second kick of the match, unsuccessful from the other side of the field. What can he do on this side? And the correct side for the right-footed kicker, and he's kicked a fine. I thought he'd kicked that. He's missed it. It just shows you the camera angle can be deceptive, can't it? 6-4 it is to Warrington.
You can see Jason Roach, and as soon as Cummins sees that Roach dips his head, watch him dip his head to go for the tackle, and bang. It's a split second. That is a fine effort by the winger Francis Cummins. Well, I must say, Eddie, that when Iestyn Harris turned away, he looked somewhat bemused, didn't he? He thought he'd kicked that conversion.
Well, I did as well, I must confess. 5 minutes to half-time. Leeds have struck back, but Warrington still ahead by 2 points. The boot of Chris Rudd. Farrow dummy half. Michael Wainwright hit by Fleary, but bounced away, gave it to Penny, who gets away from Masella and finds his skipper Farah. Breers at dummy half now. Here's the unmistakable figure of Steve McCurry. Well picked out by Powell.
Interesting to see that Leeds scored a try from only their second occasion that they've had the ball out wide. And it was the only occasion that we've seen the big second rower Andy Hay running out in the centres.
Well, and that kick downfield from Farah that sails out on the full, that will be brought back to the point where the kick was taken, and it's the turnover.
I think the body language said it all after that attempt.
So Leeds are back in possession. Not been the most convincing first half, Steve-o, of their season so far.
No, but I think the introduction of Jamie Matthew has certainly lifted them.
And here is Matthew. He finds Holroyd.
Holroyd didn't like the tackle from Tutor.
Now then Harris again. One-handed back to Sheridan. Busy little player, Sheridan. He finds Tony Kemp, who in turn gives it to Hay. Hay showed it to everybody and went for the gap. Hay, Penny's after him. Penny got to him, but momentum took Andy Hay over. That will be a try, I feel, although Russell Smith wants to check that there wasn't a double movement from Andy Hay. But on this slippery surface, Hay went across the line. He's claiming it was a high tackle anyway by Penny. This will tell us.
Well, he brushed off one, and it was a swinging arm from Penny. And he slid over. That's a try. No double movement. No problem about that. And on the slippery surface, certainly was a high one. Just a little bit of a wobble. It's whether the video judge will, I think he'll give this as a try. He slid over.
And he does. Try given to Andy Hay. The Leeds supporters who have travelled over here for this match, delighted, and Graham Murray, I think, will believe that his team, after a shaky opening 35 minutes, have got themselves out of jail here. They lead now by 8 points to 6. Yestin Harris then with the conversion attempt, yet to find the mark. And if anyone knows the angles here at Wilderspool, Harris should. 4 points needed for 900 career points for Yestin Harris. I'm going to wait for the flags this time. He's missed another. 8-6 then, Leeds with a narrow advantage.
Well, they got off to a bad start to the big second rower Andy Hay, but Leeds did keep this ball alive, and full credit to him. Sheridan, Kemp, and you could see they were just dragging the defence out, and you can see how that Brendan Toos had been pulled out of it. And he went past Mark Hilton, and it was a high one from Penny, but he had the power and the speed to slide over for a vital try. Always a great psychological lift. Oh, what a wonderful break from Nutley.
It is a great break from Nutley, but Harris got to him and hauled him down. Can Warrington strike just before the half-time siren? This is Forster, and Forster straightens it up, but Kent gets to him, and Masella. Penny at dummy half. Gives it to Coe Love. Coe Love tackled by Matthew and also Masella. Those two getting through a lot of work at the moment. Breers to McCurry. McCurry halted 20 metres from the line by Andy Hay, who has started the last 4 and is repaying the faith of Graham Murray. That ball was knocked forward by Tutor. Oh, and Harris does so well to get out of trouble and gets back into the field of play.
To no avail. There was already an infringement, a knock on here, so it'll be head and feet to Leeds anyway. And he played the advantage on, and it was none forthcoming. Either way, Tutor went high. Rudd got nowhere near. Tutor swung over the top. Rudd missed. So did Breers.
So Leeds have got it back with Godden. McCurry with the tackle. Sheridan, the ball went to ground. Another knock on. A match here that has been littered with mistakes from both sides.
A bad mistake as well just before the half-time break, when it needed a little bit of composure from the dummy half position, and it was Ryan Sheridan
Bradford in control against Huddersfield, 30-6. Here it's much tighter at Wilderspool, and Warrington, with half a minute to go to half-time, will launch another attack from 10 metres out. That's Rudd, but he's halted as he received the ball by Gotten.
Keep your eye out now for the big second rower, Steve McCurry. They use him as a battering ram sometimes.
This is Tutor, the other second rower. He feeds Wainwright, and Wainwright feeds McCurry, was it? And the ball is down, Warrington claim, and the try is given. And is it McCurry who's underneath all of that? It was Tutor. Brendan Tutor then gets the try against Warrington, disappeared under a whole phalanx of bodies, but managed to get the ball down.
Only seconds remaining. Ryan Sheridan made a big mistake. It was Tutor that started it and offloaded it. Second effort there. Good play by Hilton, they kept it alive, and Tutor goes underneath. 4 to 5 of them there. Well, he did so well, and he squeezes it down. And Russell Smith, he didn't want to go to the video, he didn't need it. Well, second effort here from Brendan Tutor. He's got 2 hanging off him there. Wainwright shoves a neat little pass to him, and the Kiwis in. What a time to score a try. And the head's down from Ryan Sheridan because he knows that knock on, only seconds in this half remaining, has allowed Warrington to take the lead.
Yes, the lead back in Warrington's hands right on the half-time siren. What a mistake that was then from Ryan Sheridan, that surrendered the possession to Warrington via the scrum. And here's Rudd now with an impeccable goal-kicking record so far. This by far the most difficult that he has had. Right out close to this near touchline. He's given that a good thump. And that's a great kick again from Chris Rudd. And there's the half-time siren, and Warrington lead by 12 points to 8. And there are problems here for Graham Murray in Leeds, because Warrington are refusing to lie down and surrender. And the